Hello viewers, you're welcome to chapter 4 of our cybersecurity tutorial. My name remains Vincent, hope your instructor. Today we're going to be dealing with networks and networking types. Now quickly let's jump right into it. So the question is, what is a network? A network is a collection of interconnected devices such as computers, servers, switches, routers, and mobile devices that communicate and share resources. So in simple terms, a network is simply a connection of devices to share resources, which could be information, music, data, videos, and the rest of it. Now, these devices are linked using communication channels, which could be wired or wireless, to exchange data. Now let's look at it here. Now look at this device here. You can see that all these devices, all these laptops here are connected to a server. Now, because they are all connected, they are all said to be on a network. Now let's go to types of networks. Networks can be classified based on their size, the size of the network, their functionality, how they function, and the geographical scope, that means the spread. The common types include 1. Local area network. Now, a local area network, which is called a LAN, connects devices within a limited area, such as a home, office, or building. What does that mean? A local area is simply a connection of computers, phones, printers within an office or an office complex, or within a building, within a local area. That's what we mean by LAN. Now look at this device, this one here. You discover that all the devices, this computer here, this laptop, this computer here, another computer here, and a server, they are all connected together on a local area network. Now, what are the features of a local area network? It has high data transfer rates. It has limited geographic range, that means it's located within a particular location, and is privately owned, usually by an individual or a company. Now, example is an office network is a LAN, and a home Wi-Fi is also a LAN. Now let's make progress. Now we also have what is called a wide area network. What is a WAN? Which is simply called WAN. A WAN spans a large geographical area which consists of multiple smaller networks or LANs connected via routers. Let's take an example. Look at this diagram here. You can see this is a local area network, maybe within an office complex. This is another local area network. This is another local area. All of them are connected. And now, these different local area networks can be in different buildings, can be in different counties or local governments, can be in different states, can be in different countries, can even be in different continents. Now so this local area networks connected together is called a wide area network. Now, what are the features? It covers cities, countries, or even continents. Often uses public or leased telecommunication infrastructure. Yes. Then has lower data transfer rates compared to LAN. LAN is faster because it is closer, so data can be transmitted quickly. But for a WAN, it is wider, so the speed of the data transfer can be slowed down significantly. Examples is the internet. That's why sometimes you have downtimes in the internet. You have company networks spanning over multiple locations. Now let's go to the next one, the metropolitan area network, which is called MAN. A MAN connects multiple LANs within a metropolitan area, such as a city or a large campus. Now, so this is an example of a MAN. The different devices or computers are connected, but is usually within a large campus or a city. Now, what are the features of a MAN? It's larger than a LAN, that is bigger than a local area network, but smaller than a WAN. So a MAN is actually smaller than a wide area network. So it's a small component of a wide area network, but it's actually larger than a local area network. Often used by organizations or municipalities. Now, examples is the cable TV network or citywide Wi-Fi. So that is a WAN. Now let's make progress. Now, since we have understood network and networking types, let's look at the devices used to connect networks. So the basic devices used to connect networks, the first one is a hub, which is a basic device that connects multiple devices in a LAN. Now, the key feature of a hub is that it broadcasts all data to all connected devices, regardless of destination. What does that mean? A hub is simply a device used to connect multiple devices on the network. That means you can have a hub connecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 computers, or 1, 2, 3 computers with a printer, with a scanner, or maybe with a phone. So that's what a hub does. So what is the main feature of a data? Now you can see that data sent by one node, that means by this computer sent to a hub, what happens? The data is forwarded to all connected devices, meaning that if this computer sends the data to this hub, all the devices on the network receive the information, regardless of whether it was sent directly to them or not. That is the hub. Now, the features is that it operates on the physical layer, which is based on the devices connected, and can cause congestion due to broadcasting. It means that because every device receives the information that was sent, it can cause jams and slowdowns. Now let's make progress. Now go to a switch. The function of a switch, it operates within a LAN. A switch is also used to connect a local area network like a hub. But what's the difference? It connects multiple devices, which is computers, forwards data based on MAC addresses. What is a MAC? Media Access Control Addresses. Create separate collision domains for improved performance. What does that mean? Unlike a hub that receives data from one computer and broadcasts it to every other computer, what a switch will do in a local area network is that when it receives the information from the server, it directs the information or the data packets directly to the device or to the computer that requires it. So if the information is sent to PC1, the switch will intelligently look at the MAC address of PC1 and route the information to PC1. It does not send the information to PC2, 3, 4, and the rest of it, or devices on the network. That is what a switch does. So it uses what is called the MAC address, which is the Media Access Control Addresses, and sends each of the information to the specific device that requires it. So the feature is it works on the data link layer because it works with MAC addresses. The LAN, the hub, works with the physical layer because it's just based on the device connected to it. It also provides high-speed data transfer. Why? Because data is not scattered around, so there is no collision. It goes direct to the information, direct to the device that requires it. So let's make progress. We also have what is called the router. Now, what's the difference between the router? We talked about the hub now and the switch, now the router. Now, the function of the hub, it connects different networks, such as LANs to the internet. That's what a router does. Now, what does that mean? A router, unlike a switch, which works within a network, and a hub, which works within a network, a router connects both the other networks, which is like this network. Let's call this network 1. This is network 2. A router will connect both of these networks, and it can connect so many other networks to a larger network like the internet. Means that the internet is a network on its own. This is network 1, and this is network 2. So the 3 networks can be connected by a router. That's what a router does. So that's why it's superior to a switch. And we know why the switch is superior to a hub. Now, what's the other advantage of a router? Now, it directs data packets based on their destination IP addresses. What does that mean? Let me read the next one so you can understand it more. Facilitates communication between multiple devices by assigning IP address. What is IP address? IP address means Internet Protocol address. The router assigns different addresses to each of the components on the network. So like the switch, as it connects different networks to each other, it also assigns IP address so that if an information is coming from the internet directly to PC3 here, the router will direct it to this server, move to the hub, and direct the information here to PC3. It will not go to any other information. So you can see that is why the router has a superior intelligence than the switch, and the switch has a superior intelligence than the hub. So that's about that. Now, what are the features? It supports wired and wireless connections. You can use the router. You have wired routers and you also have wireless routers. Then it provides a firewall and security features, meaning that the router can block if there is an attack coming from the internet, which we'll talk about later. The router can block the information so that it doesn't get to the PC or to the device that it's supposed to attack. So example is a home router for internet access. Now, so those are the basic about network devices. So what have we learned so far? First, we have learned about what is a network, which is simply an internet connection of different devices to share information. The second, we learned about network types. And what are the network types? We talked about the local area network, which is a connection of devices within an office or office complex or building. We learned about what a WAN is, which is a wide area network, which is a connection of different local area networks in different locations, which could be different localities, different municipalities, different states, different continents. We also talked about the metropolitan area network, which is a smaller version of the WAN, but larger than LAN network, connected maybe a company that has different branches in different states. Now, we treated network devices. What are the basic network devices? We said the first one is a hub. A hub is a device that every device that is connected to it, once it receives information from a device, from a single device, it transmits or broadcasts the information to every other device connected to it. That's why it's on the physical layer. It doesn't select. Then a switch, which also connects the LAN, uses MAC addresses to route information to the specific device that is required. So it works with the second layer, which is the data layer. Now the hub works with the physical layer, layer 1. The switch works with this data layer, which is layer 2. Then we have what is called the router. The router connects different devices or different LANs or different networks to other networks like the internet. So you can have network 1 in an office space, network 2 in another branch location, then all of them are connected to the internet. That is, you use the router for that device. And what does the router do? It assigns specific IP addresses to each of those devices and routes the information specifically to that device. Okay, this is chapter 5. Here we're going to be dealing with understanding network security. So what is network security? We talked about networks, which is a connection of devices together to share resources and information. Now, so network security is the practice of protecting computer networks from unauthorized access, very important, misuse, disruption, or destruction. So this is our networks. All the devices are connected, but to protect these devices from illegal access, how do you protect them? Just as I was preparing this lecture, somebody sent me a very long message telling me he has gained access to my data, I have to send him almost $8,000. I started smiling. I said that he doesn't understand that I'm knowledgeable with cybersecurity. So now let's make progress. So it involves a combination of hardware. Hardware can be used for cybersecurity, software, policies, and procedures designed to ensure that confidentiality, integrity, and availability of network resources and data. So that is what network security does. So now let's make progress so that we can see more on what we do. Now, components of network security. So what are the things that can be used to protect networks? Now, the first one is the firewall. The firewall is a security device or software designed, so it can be a device or software, to monitor. It monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic based on predetermined security rules. What does that mean? A firewall will monitor traffic or data or information coming from the internet into your local area network or into your system, and also monitor, if you have a local network within, monitor the traffic that goes out so that unauthorized information too doesn't go out. It acts as a barrier between trusted internal networks, which is like your LAN or your company network, and untrusted external network, such as the internet. Now let's take the example at the background. You see that you have the internet here. You have a device or a software which is called a firewall. You can find this mostly in Windows, in the software Microsoft Windows operating system. Most of the current versions have firewalls. Now, this firewall, what is its job? Is to protect this local area network, which is your home network, from unauthorized access, from attacks from the internet. If a hacker uses the internet and wants to gain access into your internet, the firewall is designed to stop it. Now, what's the purpose of firewalls? Quickly, prevent unauthorized access, which we have just discussed about. 2, protect sensitive data, that safeguard the data inside the network so that it is not stolen from a hacker outside. 3, controls network traffic, ensure that only legitimate and safe data packets pass through from the internet into the home network. It defends against cyber threats, mitigates risk from malware, phishing, and hacking attempts. So it defends your local area network from every kind of external threat. It regulates user access, enforces policies to control who access specific parts of the network. So, for example, if it's a bank, the firewall can stop illegal users from accessing the bank's network. Now, let's make progress. Now, how does firewall work? We've talked about briefly, but let's just go through the statement. Firewalls inspect data packets. What are data packets? They are units of data transmission or data information as they travel through the network. They are inspected based on certain parameters such as the source and destination IP address. What does that mean? A firewall would check where is the data coming from, which IP address. Is it coming from a threat location? For example, you always hear the US saying that there is an attack from North Korea. If it's coming from that destination, the firewall will block it. Now, where is it going to? Is it going to a special security site? Is it going to US Defense? Is it going to your company database? Is it going to customer account details to steal information from there? That is what a firewall will block. You also have what? It uses protocol and port number, determines the type of communication, whether it's HTTP or FTP. HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is not secured. Now, if it's not coming from a secured site, because usually a secured site has HTTPS, which we'll talk about later. If it's not coming from a secured site, the firewall is going to block it. It also looks at the content, examines the data payload or potential threats in advanced firewall, checks from where the data is coming from, what amount of data is coming from there, is it a strange information? It blocks it. So this diagram is the same. This is your PC, this is your firewall, this is your internet, this is the hacker trying to gain access, so the firewall stops it. So based on these 3 parameters, firewalls either allow, which is permit, legitimate traffic to be granted access if it's from authorized users. If it is unauthorized, it blocks or denies suspicious or unauthorized traffic is dropped. That's what a firewall does. Now let's make progress. Now, so what are the types of firewalls? There are many types of it, but let's look at some of them. We have packet filtering firewalls, which evaluates the packets, which is the units of information on their source, where is it coming from, and the destination, IPs, ports, and protocols. Another type is stateful inspection firewalls. It monitors the state of active connections. If a bank is getting a lot of inquiries from a particular location, or a lot of inquiries from a particular location they have not got before, a firewall can disengage those login attempts. Now we also have proxy firewall. Acts as an intermediary, analyzing data that at the application layer for enhanced security. It checks what kinds of applications are trying to gain access. Are they the regular applications, your office applications, or there are special applications which the firewall is not known to? It's going to block that information. We also have next generation firewalls. So we have which combines traditional firewalls features with advanced functions like intrusion prevention and deep packet inspection, which is checking each data information. So these are some examples. We have stateful firewall, packet filtering, which we talked about, next generation. We also have NAT firewalls, proxy firewalls, web application firewalls, SMLI firewalls. Now let's make progress. Now, so we talked about firewalls. So the next thing we're going to talk about on how to carry out network security, we have what is called the intrusion detection system and also the intrusion prevention system. They are both different in their function. Now, the intrusion detection system and the intrusion prevention system are network security technologies, usually software, designed to detect and prevent unauthorized, this is very important, or malicious activities within a network. While they share similarities, their functions are distinct. Now, what is different? Intrusion detection system. The purpose of an IP is simple. It monitors network traffic for suspicious activities or known threats and generates alerts, but does not take direct action. What does it mean? Once the intrusion detection system notices any illegal or strange traffic from information coming from a particular source, it flags it and informs the network security expert. So the network security or cybersecurity expert is the one who's going to take action. He's not going to take action. So how does it work? Collects data packets from the network, analyzes the packets against a database of known threat signatures. There are known threat signatures of what has happened before, and it now flags it. Now, types, we have the host-based IDS, which monitors activities and individual devices, file changes and logins. Network-based IDS, which is NDIS, monitors traffic across network. Now, the key features is passive. It just detects and reports, but does not block threats. Let's make progress. Now, while the intrusion prevention system, the purpose, it detects and actively prevents or blocks, very important, malicious activities. Unlike the intrusion detection system, which just identifies it and alerts, this one identifies and also blocks. So the intrusion prevention system, so it monitors and analyzes traffic in real time. Okay, now let's take the signature, which gives a summary of it. So this is the internet. This is a router. It's coming through the router, coming into this system, which is an intrusion prevention system. If it notices any strange traffic, it blocks. If it notices the traffic is okay, it allows. It still goes through a firewall before it gets to the local servers. So we also have the host-based IPS, which is HIPS, protects individual devices, and also the network-based. Now, key features is IPS is active and stops threats in real time. Now, let's make progress. Okay, so you can see the device now still shows the same system in its full glare. So let's make progress on that. Now, another way to stop, we first talked about another way to stop networks, to carry out security on networks is called, we use the VPN, the Virtual Private Network VPNs. A virtual private network is a technology, which is usually software, that establishes a secure and encrypted or coded connection over a public or untrusted network such as the internet. It allows users to transmit data securely, ensuring privacy, confidentiality, and anonymity. Now, what does that mean? Look at this individual at this background. He wants to send an information. If he sends it through a virtual private network, that virtual private network encodes the data and passes through the internet service provider or through an encrypted VPN tunnel or passageway, and it goes through the VPN server. Now, the VPN server now routes it to the individual or location, so that until it gets to that location, it cannot, even if it is stolen, it cannot be accessed. The information cannot be accessed until it gets to the end user. It can now be decrypted or seen by the end user. Now, the purpose of VPN is data security, protects sensitive information such as login credentials, your username, your password, or financial data from being intercepted. That's number one. Number two, privacy. Marks users' IP address and location, preventing tracking and surveillance. Now, the remote, it also enables remote access. It enables secure paths to private network, e.g. company resources. So those workers who work in a bank, it allows give them access to the company's database or the bank's database. It by bypassing restriction allows users to access region blocked or content or services. Allows users to access region blocked content or services based on using a VPN. Now let's make progress. So how does it really work? First thing a VPN does, it does encryption. Data transmitted between the user and the VPN server is encrypted or coded, make it unreadable to outsiders. 2, tunneling. The VPN creates a secure tunnel or path between the user's device, which is your device you are using, and the server it is being directed to, encapsulating the data packets and the information to protect them from stealing. 3, it marks the IP address. What does it mean? It hides the IP address or changes it. The VPN server replaces the IP address with its own, making it appear as if the user is browsing from a different location. So those are the 3 major things the VPN does. It encrypts data, it tunnels the data, it marks it. Types of VPNs. We have the remote access VPN, which provides individuals secure access to a private network from a remote location, e.g. employees accessing a corporate internet like a bank. Site to site connects multiple networks, branch offices or headquarters together to a particular location. Example, 2 company offices in different cities securely sharing data. Then we have client-based VPN, requires installation of a VPN software on a user's device. Example, personal VPNs for browsing securely on the internet. They have the cloud VPN, which facilitates secure connection to cloud resources without traditional hardware. So most of the VPNs are in software mode, so remote, site-to-site, client-based, and network. So let's make progress. Now, common VPN protocols, common languages. A protocol is simply a language which the computer uses to communicate with each other. Now, if you look at the summary of it, types of VPN protocol, we have private VPN, remote access VPN, mobile VPN, site-to-site VPN, cloud VPN. And the protocols being used, we have Open VPN protocol, L2P IPKSet protocol, PPT, IKV, SSP, WireGuard, TSS. These are different protocols used for different VPNs. So now the common protocols here: Open VPN, open source and highly secure. We also have the IKV, fast and stable for mobile users. We have L2P, L2TP/IPsec, combines layer 2 tunneling protocol and IPsec security. We have WireGuard, modern, lightweight, and high-speed protocol. Advantages of VPN: protects against hackers and data interception on public Wi-Fi, so that hackers, even if they intercept the information, it will be useless to them because they can't access it. It has been coded or encrypted. Secure sensitive corporate communications, enhance privacy by hiding online activities from ISPs and governments, enables access to restricted or censored content. Limitations of VPNs: can reduce internet speed due to encryption overhead, because it's encrypting data that consumes a lot of time, data, and the speed is reduced. Requires trust in the VPN provider to protect user data. May not prevent all forms of cyber threats like phishing, which is you giving your information voluntarily to the attacker. Now let's make progress. Now, common network protocols. What are the common network protocols which we'll talk about briefly? Now, common network protocols are standardized rules that allow devices to communicate over a network. Some key network protocols, there are many, but we're going to talk about a few. One, we have the TCP/IP, which is TCP means Transmission Control Protocol, that is TCP. Then IP means Internet Protocol. The function: this is the foundation of the internet. The TCP/IP governs how data is transmitted between devices over a network. Key features: the TCP, which is the Transmission Control Protocol, ensures reliable delivery of packets, error checking, and retransmission if packets are lost. That means the TCP controls the movement and the delivery of data, while the IP handles addressing where is the data going to and the exact location and routing of packets to ensure that they reach their correct destination. So TCP has the transmission and accurate, and that the data is complete and delivered, while the IP handles their location Example, when loading a web page, TCP ensures all parts of the web page is received and in the correct order, while the IP ensures that the data is routed correctly from the server to the clients. Now, so we have the network protocols. Remember when we're talking about networks and network layer, we had the transport layer, which is the TCP layer. We have the internet layer, we have the network layer, we also have the application layer. So it starts with the application, then the transport layer, then the internet layer, then the network access layer. Let's make progress. Now, another type of protocol is the DNS protocol. Now, what's the function? The function translates human readable domain. For example, www.example.com. This is what you type on the internet into IP addresses. That's what a DNS does. Now 19.021. So this www is now this, which are required to locate servers on the internet. So this is your client server. You type an information www.isp.com, www.google.com. The DNS server changes that to the IP, the exact IP address, so that this computer, your client server, can locate the computer on the internet. The key feature is that acts as a phone book of the internet. So e.g., when you type www.google.com, the DNS resolves it to the corresponding IP address, enable your browser to access Google servers. Secondly, HTTP. Then thirdly, we have the DNS, we're definitely DNS. Then the third one is the HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Functions. A protocol is a protocol for transferring hypertext, which is web pages, over the internet. Or the internet, you go to the internet, you browse Google sites, you browse CNN, you browse BBC, you work with web pages. Now, it is this protocol that allows those pages to be transmitted or transported over the internet. The key features is stateless protocol, means each request/response is independent, operates on port 80 by default. Example, when you request a web page from your browser, it sends an HTTP request to the server, maybe it's the Google server, which responds with the requested content. So this is the client, the request, it goes, there's a response, and there's a connection. So now let's make progress. So the fourth type of protocol we're dealing is the HTTPS. Previously we dealt with HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Notice there was no S here. When we make progress now, we are dealing with HTTPS, which is HTTP Secure. A secure version of HTTP that encrypts data transfer between client and server uses SSL/TLS. Now, meaning that what? This TPP, this is the Hypertext Transport Protocol. It is added with a secure socket layer. Combined, two of them will give you HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Most sites on the internet operate with this. Any site you see that doesn't have an S in front, that is a suspect. So you have to be very careful how you browse on that site or reuse your information on that site. Key features: increase in communication to protect data from interception, from being stolen, ensures authenticity through digital certificates, operates on port 443 by default. Example, use of secured transactions such as online banking. If you want to use your online banking and you want to log in your information, if you check the site, you discover it always has the HTTPS in front of it. The lock icon in the browser address bar indicates the HTTPS is in use. Let's make progress. So, what have we learned in this lesson so far? The first thing we learned, we talked about network types. What kinds of networks do we have? Secondly, we dealt with network security. How do you protect networks from attackers or unauthorized users? Thirdly, we talked about firewalls, how it works, what does it do, that it stops intruders from the internet from getting access to your local area network. We talked about different types and how it works. We also talked about virtual private networks and how they can use to encode data from your recipient to the receiver. Then finally, we talked about network protocols, which are the languages, different language levels used to transmit data over the internet. Okay, this is chapter 6 of Cybersecurity course, Beginner's Guide. Today, we are going to be dealing with cybersecurity tools and software. So, antivirus and anti-malware software. Antivirus and anti-malware software are essential tools designed to detect, prevent, and remove malicious software, which is malware, from devices and networks. Now, the first one is antivirus. This traditionally targets viruses. There is no computer user who doesn't have an idea of what called a virus is, which are a subset of malware. Now, examples of antiviruses, we have Norton, McAfee, Kaspersky, Advanced, and the rest of it. Then we have anti-malware, which broadens protection to include other threats apart from viruses, such as ransomware, spyware, adware, Trojans, and rootkits. So, an anti-malware covers both antivirus and other threats. Now, let's make progress. Now, types of malware. First is virus, which is self-replicating programs that infect files and systems. You all know about viruses. Then we have what is called the ransomware, which encrypts data or codes data. It's a kind of malware that encrypts data and demands payment for decryption. So it can encrypt the data of a company and demand that the company pays a certain kind of amount before it can gain access to that data. That's a ransomware. We have spyware, which collects sensitive information without the consent of the organization or individual. We also have adware, which displays unwanted advertisements, often bundled with legitimate software. So you are browsing your website or you are browsing your email, you see some unnecessary adverts, that is an adware. Now you have Trojans, which are malwares disguised as legitimate software. They can just send you an email and say, okay, install this free software to clean up your system, and by the time you just click, your system is corrupted. You also have worms, which spread autonomously across networks without user intervention. So finally, we have rootkits, which enables attackers to gain administrator-level access. That means they begin to operate as if it is you. They have gained access into your system and begin to operate your system as if you are the one operating it. This is an example of a rootkit attackers. Now let's make progress. Now we'll talk about multi-factor authentication, MFA. This is a security mechanism that requires users to provide 2 or more forms of verification in order to access an account, system, or application. It enhances the security by adding additional layers of protection beyond the traditional username and password. So if you are familiar with your Google Gmail account, sometimes if you browse from another system or from another phone, it will ask you for your password. If it's not a device that is registered with the Google when you did your registration or is used to, it will ask you to authenticate, maybe using your phone or your phone number, and if you can authenticate, it allows you to pass. If it doesn't authenticate, you do not gain access. So MFA requires combination of factors from the following categories: something you know, which is your password, PIN, security question, which you have seen on Google or any of your emails; something you have, examples, your smartphone authenticator app, hardware token or smart card. For your biography, it can also ask you for your biographic data, such as your fingerprints, facial recognition, or voice pattern. Now let's make progress. So, types of MFA methods, multi-factor authentication methods. One, we have OTPs, one-time OTPs, which you're already used to. So these are time-based OTPs generated by the apps like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. Then you also have SMS or email OTPs delivered to your phone or email, less secure due to interception risk. Then we also have push notifications. There we have Authenticator app send notifications for you to approve or deny the login attempt. We also have biometrics, which are fingerprint scanners, facial recognitions, and the rest of it. We also have hardware tokens, which are physical devices like the YubiKeys and RSA. Look at this, for example, a YubiKey. Okay, fingerprint device. Okay, biometric, for example, that requires you to, hardware token that requires the person to be able to gain access using a particular device. the tokens are generated authentication. The tokens that generate authentication codes or plug device into it. If you go to banks, you see some bankers, they wear a particular device. If they want to access their system, they press that device and it generates a code for them to access their own login or their accounts, so they can also serve the customers. Now you have location-based authentication, verifying login attempts based on geographic location or IP addresses. Now let's make progress. Okay. Now, network monitoring tools. What are network monitoring tools? They are software, very important, solutions designed to monitor, analyze, and manage network performance, uptime, and security. So if you are going to be a cybersecurity expert, you need to know how to use some of the network monitoring tools depending on what your organization is using, but they are common ones. They help administrators detect and resolve issues, optimize network resources, and ensure smooth operations. Now, key features of network monitoring tools include real-time monitoring, provides live data on network performance, device status, and traffic, alerting and notifications, sends alerts for anomalies, downtime or performance issues, traffic analysis, monitors bandwidth usage, identifies bottlenecks, and tracks data flow. Now, let's make progress. So, what it also does, it has device and endpoint management, tracks the status of connected device. All the devices connected are being shown. Customized dashboard. This is a dashboard screen. Offers user-friendly interfaces with visualized data for easier analysis. Everything you are monitoring. You can see this one, maybe it's device 68, device 2, device 00. The information that is being coming in, it tells you. A network monitoring device will show you all those information. Network mapping creates visual maps of the network. This is a network map. All the devices that are connected to the device, to the router, and to the network. Event logs collect data of information that has been logged in. Scalability, success, supports growing networks from small local setups to large enterprise infrastructures. Excuse me. Now let's make progress. So some common network monitoring tools, there are many of them. We have SolarWinds Network Performance Monitor, NPM, features advanced fault detection, performance monitoring, and mapping. We also have Datadog. These are the features. We have Wireshark. It does packet analysis tools for diagnosing network. We have Splunk, advanced log management and analysis with real-time monitoring. You also have Cisco Meraki, and there are so many of them. Each of them have their different functions. Now, let's quickly go to risk management and compliance. Risk management involves identifying, evaluating, and mitigating potential threats to an organization's digital assets. The key concept of cybersecurity risk management, that means how do you manage risk when there is an attack or when there is an infringement or when there is a data breach. So what are the key concepts for you to know or understand? The first is risk, the potential for loss or damage when a threat exploits vulnerability, which is risk. The impact, what is the extent of damage of that risk? The likelihood, what is the probability of the threat exploiting a vulnerability? So you need to know these concepts. So this is under risk management. So now let's make progress. Now, so steps in cybersecurity risk management. So how do you manage risk? The first is to identify the risk by identifying your assets, threats, and vulnerability. What are your assets? Your critical data, your systems, your applications and hardware. What are your threats? The cyber attacks, insider threats, natural disasters. What are your vulnerabilities? Your weak passwords, outdated software. Now, so the second step is risk assessment. Evaluate the potential impact and likelihood of identified risk. What exactly is that risk going to do to your organization? The third is risk mitigation. How do you apply controls to reduce to acceptable levels that risk? Examples: implementing firewalls and anti-malware software, conduct regular and patch management, enforce strong access controls. You monitor the risk monitoring. Then finally, the risk communication. How do you share the findings of that risk to everybody on the organization so that it does not repeat itself? Now, let's make progress. So what are the summary of the learning concepts here? We've learned antivirus and anti-malware, about antivirus and anti-malware. We've learned about types of malware. We've also learned multi-factor authentication, what it is. We also learned about network monitoring. We also learned about risk management in this lesson. We're going to be moving on to chapter 7, which is cybersecurity frameworks. Framework simply means standards or policies that organizations must abide by or follow in order to respond to cybersecurity risk. Now let's go through the definition. Cybersecurity frameworks are structured sets of guidelines, very important, best practices, what has been used in previous times and it worked, and standards designed to help organizations manage and mitigate cybersecurity risk. Cybersecurity risk actually not new, so several companies have gone through it and standards have been developed for every company to follow in order to be able to mitigate risk. They provide a foundation for developing, implementing, and maintaining effective cybersecurity policies and controls, ensuring that organizations can protect their systems, data, and networks against threats. If you look at the background here, there's a basic of a framework. The framework basic here is 1. Identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Now, let's make progress. Now, common cybersecurity frameworks, common standards, common guidelines that organizations can follow in order to mitigate cybersecurity risk. Now we have the NIST cybersecurity framework. NIST simply stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. This is being developed in the US, and the core function of NIST is to identify, which we talked about, which is understand organization cybersecurity risk, protect it, implement safeguards to ensure critical safe delivery, detect, which is monitor for and identify cybersecurity events, respond, which contain and mitigate incidents, recover, restore operations, and reduce the impact of that risk. Use case is widely adopted in critical infrastructure, government, and private sectors. We also have the ISO IE 2701 and 2702. Now this is for Information Security Management System, ISO 271 certified. Now simply means International Standards for Information Security Management System. This is also another framework which a company can adopt. Key elements is risk management process, security controls, covering confidentiality, integrity, and the rest of it. Now let's make progress. We also have now the GDPR. This is very common, especially if you're in the European Union. GDPR means General Data Protection Regulation. The European Union regulation focused on data privacy and protection. The key principles is consent, data minimization, and transparency. Use cases, organizations handling EU citizens. We also have the Cybersecurity Maturity Certification Model. These are different frameworks and models. You also have the MATRI, ATT, and CK framework. All these are different cybersecurity frameworks. They are all different cybersecurity frameworks. Okay, we make progress now. Let's make progress. Now we have what is called incident response and recovery. Incident response and recovery life cycle. The incident response life cycle is a structured approach to identify, manage, and recover from cybersecurity incidents. That means when a cybersecurity incident happens or an attack from a cyber attacker or from anyone, what is the best approach or the step-by-step procedure to follow? It ensures that organizations can respond to security breaches quickly and effectively, minimize damage, and ensuring a quick return to normal operations. Steps include incident response, 1, data recovery, 2, business continuity, 3, identification. So the first step is identification. The goal: detect and confirm that a cybersecurity incident has occurred. That's the first goal of incident response recovery. Monitor systems for signs of malicious activity. Use intrusion detection systems, security logs, and threat intelligence to spot potential threats. Perform initial triage to determine the severity of the incident. So that is the first incident identification. Now the second one is to contain that incident. The goal is to limit the scope and impact of the incident to prevent further damage. Activities. Damage activities. Activities include isolated affected systems or networks to prevent threat from spreading, apply temporary controls, and blocking the IP address, disabling compromised accounts. Contain the incident without disrupting ongoing business operations. Then the third thing is to what? Is eradication. The goal: remove the root cause of the incident and eliminate all traces of the threat. So in eradication, after containment, is to identify and remove malware, backdoors, or unauthorized access points, patch vulnerabilities and exploited during the attack, clean up infected systems and ensure no residual threat remains, verify that the threat has been completely removed and does not exist elsewhere in the environment. Now, look at the procedure. So you prepare, identify, contain, eradicate, recover, and the lessons learned. Now let's make progress. So in this, the fourth point is also recovery. Goal: restore affected systems and services to normal operation, ensuring that the security of the environment. Activities: rebuild and restore systems from clean backups. So if a system has been breached, one of the roles a cybersecurity expert must do after he or she has contained it and eradicated it is to restore operations of that system. The activities: rebuild or restore backup systems from a clean backup, monitor any signs of reinfection or further malicious activities, then gradually bring the system back online in a controlled manner, ensure systems are fully patched and updated to prevent future incidents, and the rest. So the conclusion here: the incident response lifecycle is a critical process for efficiently handling cybersecurity incidents, minimizing damage, and learning from each incident to enhance future responses. Now let's make progress. Now, how to choose a framework? It depends on your organization, it depends on your resources, it depends on your capacity, it depends on your expertise. One is identify organizational needs. What does your organization require? Second is compliance requirements. Your compliance based on where are you located. If it's in Europe, are you using the GDPR? If it's in the US, are you using the NIST framework? You follow that framework. Then what is the size of your resources? How much does your organization have in terms of acquiring the tools? So it depends on which one do you want to use. You want to use the free tools or you paid for tools. The industry best practices, integration with existing processes. Now, benefits of cybersecurity frameworks: you have a structured approach which everyone in your organization should follow in order to respond to cyber attacks. Enhanced communication means that the communication throughout the what happened, the incident that happened is communicated across the organization. Proactive risk management, global acceptance, and continuous improvement. Now let's make progress. So what are the career paths you have in cybersecurity? First, you have entry-level roles. For example, IT support specialist, network administrator, security operations center analyst, junior penetration tester, system administrator. So what are the skills you have? You need basic networking, which we just taught you, and IT infrastructure knowledge, familiarity with operating systems, maybe Windows and Linux. You can either know Windows and sometimes Linux. Then understanding cybersecurity principles. You also have the mid-level roles, cybersecurity analyst, incident report analyst, penetration tester, threat intelligence analyst. So what skills do you know of it? Advanced knowledge interest analysis. Then for the senior level roles, you have security engineer, cybersecurity consultant, cloud security engineer, application security engineer, malware analyst. The skills needed: expertise in securing specific domains, cloud applications. So you grow from one level to another. Then the leadership role, you have a security architect, chief information officer, cybersecurity manager, risk manager, and the rest of it. The skills needed: strategic planning, policy management, and the rest of it. So what are the key learning points we have learned in this lesson? So we have learned about cybersecurity frameworks, which are standards and guidelines every cybersecurity security expert and working in an organization should ensure that organization follows. We also have incident response as probably when an incident happens, what is the structured way to respond to it and make the organization recover. Then we have cybersecurity career path. What are the different levels? Basic level, and that's entry level, intermediate level, and leadership levels. So this concludes the second part of the basic understanding that you need to have in cybersecurity beginner's guide before we go into the practical session. So if you have any questions, any observations, please feel free to drop your comments, like and share this video.